Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr., and joining me is LaCroix Poppy himself, a.k.a. my fellow Forbes 30 under 30, a.k.a. Tim fucking Geddes.
A pleasure to be here with you today.
A pleasure to have you here with me today, Tim. I appreciate, once again, the chain.
Of course.
I've been rocking the chains a lot lately.
Of course.
I've been in the market for a silver chain, right? Is that the correct color?
It is silver, yeah.
Silver, yeah. Like, to go with the earrings is the thing. Because I have my one gold
I haven't noticed, are they silver?
It's like silver-ish, right?
It's like a dark silver.
Yeah, like a dark
pretty
silver.
tight.
Yeah,
Like that.
and so I rock the gold chain, and I feel like it clashes, right? I feel like it doesn't go with it. So I've been trying to figure out a silver chain situation.
Yeah, I committed to the silver for now.
For now.
For now.
What's next up on the list?
I don't know.
Where you
This
trying
was
to
a
go?
Christmas present from G, so
Oh wow.
that's how I'm like, all right, well, this is the one I got. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So.
Oh yeah. Tim, can I tell you about how I've been going through a thing. I've been going through something, like Kendrick Lamar would say on one of his albums.
Exactly.
I've been going through something, and that thing is a FIFA addiction. I don't know if I've actually talked about it in depth on a podcast, but
You've
like,
mentioned it here and there.
I've
And
mentioned it a lot.
I've known that this might be a problem, but I haven't heard about the full-on symptoms.
it's so. Of course, all my life, I've been into FIFA, right? And it's been very on and off. And ever since I've joined Kinda Funny, it's never been all the way on. Like, I've dipped my toe into FIFA 21, I want to say, and I played Volta. And, like,
we did that stream that one time
Yeah.
work from home with Janet.
with Janet and stuff. And, like, I've dipped my toe into FIFA as a Kinda Funny member, right? But I've never been all in on my FIFA phase during Kinda Funny. For me, it was growing up playing FIFA 2005 nonstop. And I could not tell you how many hours I played of FIFA 2005, and then jump forward in time to FIFA. It was FIFA 2010 all the way up until FIFA 2015, where I was playing yearly with a group of friends, and we would play nonstop all the time. And that was my I'm gonna get fucking good at this game era, and like really obsess over FIFA.
So I'm interested in this of like, what was your kind of entry point into FIFA? Because for me, it was, pretty much playing Madden and stuff just because football's a thing here, right? Or at least American NFL football
course.
is a thing here. But then there'd be even sports that I'd say, at least for the people I grew up around, weren't the biggest thing, like boxing. When Fight Night came out, it didn't matter that none of us knew boxing or anything. It's like a boxing video game. That's fun. We're just going to play that and have a great time. But with FIFA, we were never interested in like, oh, we're going to rent that from Blockbuster or anything, because there was just no soccer culture at all. And like, there was nothing to get me in. Like, what got you in?
So in middle school, I lived in Nigeria, right, for a couple of years. Nigeria, very
There we go.
big
There we go.
soccer/football country, right? And that was the thing that first ignited it. That's where soccer became one of my favorite sports, right? And those were the only years where I ever followed actual club football, right? And like at the time, I was a big Chelsea fan because of Didier Drogba, who played for Chelsea. He was like a big African player, one of the best African players at the time. And so I was super into it from that. From there, I was like, you know what, man? Soccer's my favorite sport. I love everything about it. Started playing FIFA, obsessed over it. Like for me, I would easily say soccer is the best sport, right? Like I fucking love it. But I love it as a sport, right? I don't follow it anymore, but I love just the rules, just the gameplay of soccer is my jam. But then fast forward to high school and college. Funny enough, like I'd come back to the States. I had my group of friends, and weirdly enough, like even as Americans, they got super into FIFA as well. And I think what it was there was one dude in our friend group named Johnny. Johnny was a British dude. Like he was fresh from the UK, and his parents had moved to the US to our town. And he was the one that sort of put us on of like, hey dude, like our other friends, Jason, Ceremon, we had like a whole group. He's like, yo, like FIFA is fun. Like let me tell y'all about FIFA. He said that all in a British accent, and we started playing it.
give me your best British accent.
I'm not doing that.
But
no.
give me a Michael Cera
Michael Cera,
as
give
a
me-
British man.
Hey, bro. But we started playing FIFA 2v2. Started playing just as a group of friends. We would. This is where I knew it was a thing. Is we would have FIFA nights where we would stop by Walmart before we would head to our guy James' place, and we would buy the white chocolate macadamia nut cookies.
Okay.
So we can bake them and play FIFA
Fuck
and make a
yeah.
whole night of it, right?
Oh,
And that
yeah,
was a whole
dude.
thing. That ended up being my fighting game group as well. But I was deep into the FIFA ecosystem during that time. Come December, right? It's break. I played through High on Life, finished High on Life, dug it, was waiting on Sports Story, was waiting on this different stuff. The FIFA World Cup was going on. And I finished the World Cup, and I was like, yo, that was such a fun time. I want more of my soccer feel, right? I want more of my football feel. And I was like, you know what, man, let me pick up FIFA 23. Let me start playing it again, because I played a little bit at launch. And I started playing online seasons, which is basically just online ranked mode where you level up your division. And since then, right? This is since December. I put in over 40 hours into FIFA.
Oh my
just
God.
playing, and I've been logging into it every single day. I've been trying to play other games, and I keep getting distracted by FIFA.
It's just calling you.
It just keeps calling me where I'm doing anything else, and I'm like, what if I just played a match right now? You know, what if I just pick up the sticks?
Like that's neon white for me, bless every night. Where it's like I could get into a story heavy thing right now, but what if
But what if I just go back to what's calling me for real?
Exactly.
And
There's
so
no
it's been a
story
problem.
like a sports story. Wait,
well, there is,
well,
and it's really disappointing.
yeah,
Don't say that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been a problem. I tried Ultimate Team because a lot of people were. I put out a tweet. I was like, how do I pivot into FIFA content? What do I need to do in order to monetize this? Because this has become a thing now. People were like, yo, play Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team's where it's at. If you want to make content, you got to do Ultimate Team. Started playing Ultimate Team, and Tim, thank God that I cannot get into Ultimate Team. For whatever reason, Ultimate Team is just not working for me. I don't understand how to progress in the right ways. Like, for me, it's just too in-depth. I want to go back to playing the clubs that I know are good, right? Like, let me just pick Juventus or Chelsea or PSG. And so Ultimate Team isn't doing it for me. The career mode isn't really doing it for me. I think I'm just... For me, it for real is.
You're about the game.
I'm about the game.
The love
Just
of the
put
game,
me into
man.
ranked. Just put me into ranked and let me fight these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Tim?
Kick
And so
that ball,
that's
man.
my affliction for the last month, and I don't know when it's going to stop. I kind of hope it stops soon because it's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Review season is coming. I got to play different games.
It is
that are
coming.
not FIFA.
Someone would say it's here.
Some would say it's here already. Tim,
Mm-hmm.
enough about FIFA. Let's talk about today's stories, which include Returnal PC getting a release date, a Sackboy mobile game, and more, because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about.
Let me stop you right there.
Stop me.
John Tate in the chat says, you don't monetize Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team monetizes you.
Wow. That's powerful.
That was good.
That was powerful.
Put that on the box.
If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, or you can listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kinda Funny Games Daily. Remember, you can use Epic creator code Kinda Funny on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support the channel. To be a part of the show, head to kindafunny.com/KFGD. Write in with your questions, squad ups, and more. And remember, patreon.com/kindafunny will get you the show ad-free, plus a bevy of bonus content. Housekeeping for you. A new Kinda Funny Gamescast is up, and it's our Metacritic predictions for the year. That is up on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. And let me tell you, it's a pretty fun episode.
Great episode.
Pretty fun
Good
episode.
energy.
Had me very excited for the year. You know, we talked about that a little bit.
Wild year.
After the PS I Love You versus XCast thing where we drafted all the games, I was like, yo, this is a wild year. And then going through this again of just trying to guess all the Metacritic for all these games coming out this year, it's like, yo, 2023 is about to be on and popping.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to be as good as
Bring
Breath
the
of
heat.
Wild. Bring the heat. Spider-Man 2, I need you to be as good as the other Spider-Man games. Bring the heat.
But maybe not Miles Morales.
Maybe not
right?
Miles Morales. Be better than the other Spider-Man
God, you're
games.
such a sinner.
You're
Oh,
such
man.
a
Just
sinner.
sinner. Over on Patreon, we have a new episode of Kinda Feudy featuring the one and only Snow Bike Mike, which means it's a must-watch episode. So go over there, check that out. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by the Kinda Funny Patreon, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 5 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Starting with our number 1. Tim, we got a bevy of PlayStation news for you.
Ooh, bevy me up.
Let's start off with Returnal. Returnal is coming to PC next month. This is coming directly from the PlayStation blog. It's a new year, and we are that much closer to the PC release of Returnal. We're thrilled to reveal that PC players can join Celine on Atropos on February 15th, 2023.
Andy's birthday eve.
Happy birthday, Andy. You're getting Returnal on PC. So far, not many details have been released on any specific features that will add to the experience and immersion on PC. So let's get to the good stuff. NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR have been added, allowing you to dial up your frame rate without compromising on resolution.
That's what we're talking about.
NVIDIA NIS, isn't that like a Nintendo of America? There's a developer called NIS. NIS. All right. Not the rapper?
It's not this.
NVIDIA NIS has also been added for those players who also want to see an increase in performance, but don't have the hardware to support DLSS or FSR.
It's NVIDIA image scaling. It's another way to boost FPS with image scaling.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Returnal, can you also look up FSR for me? I mean, I'm curious on what that is. I know DLSS because Andy talks about it. Returnal also supports ray trace shadows as before, but now our friends at Climax Studios have added the support for RT reflections as well. This will make the contrast of a dark setting and neon bullets pop out even more than before. All of this can now be seen in 2 new wide resolution formats, ultra wide at 21:9 and super ultra wide at 32:9.
This is what I'm talking about, everybody.
Which one
I
do you
fucking
have?
love to hear. I have super ultra wide, baby. 32:9.
Is that the one in the office?
That is the one in the office.
I might have to borrow your computer.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. Y'all need to see what that shit.
I need to
It's
see what that
incredible. Real quick, NVIDIA FSR is sorry. It's AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution.
Wait, say those words again.
Fidelity FX
Okay.
is the F. Super is the S, and resolution is the R.
Okay.
And it's made by AMD. There's a lot of letters there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so apparently, like, Returnal's going to work with AMD, NVIDIA, all the fancy image upscaling stuff, maintaining your frame rates that everybody loves so much.
Hell yeah. We here at Housemark are beyond excited to see Returnal come to PC and expand our beautiful, dark, and I was going to say twisted, and mysterious experience to brand new players. This is awesome.
It is, man. This is I love this type of tech stuff. This is the stats I want to see. I love that they start this saying we don't have many details and then go on to give all the details, right?
Yeah.
Like, good for them. But yeah, like, I love it. Popping into these games in ultra wide, or specifically super ultra wide, is such a different experience. And if you have the computing power to actually run it all, it's pretty damn wild. Like, seeing Spider-Man swing through New York and it being that immersive is an experience, man. So really excited for this. I feel like with Returnal, like, having that extra real estate is going to look cinematic as hell and be really, really cool for the gameplay itself. I saw, in addition to this, they're also talking about dual sense edge support, which is obvious just because of the timing of when things are coming out. But I've been thinking a lot about that, Bless. There is something really special to me that I treasure about getting my hands on a controller for the first time, because I'm really particular. And it's hard for me to put into words what I like and don't like. But when I get my hands wrapped around those grips, I instantly know. Is this for me or is it not? You know? And there's some controllers I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna have some good times together. And then there's other things I hold, I'm like, no.
Like, no, this ain't working out.
I'm never gonna love you. I'm just never going to. You can stop trying. And I'm excited to have that moment again. Because sure, it's probably gonna feel very similar to a dual sense. But when I'm talking about the particulars I care about, the little differences in weight can change me day to day.
Oh yeah.
Do I love this? Do I hate this? I don't know. But I'm excited to find
buy
out.
an Xbox One instead of a PS4 because of the weight of the Xbox controller, you know?
Yeah. Dude, like, when the PS3 controllers first came out, did you guys ever...
yeah, when it was the light ass.
My friend Annie was
the
the one
6-axis?
who,
6-axis?
yeah, had the PS3.
Get that thing out of here.
God.
I'd launch that shit across the room and hit someone in the face. Wouldn't even hurt him because there's no fucking way.
It would explode, combust. It would
I thought
spontaneously
you were going to
combust.
say I launched that thing and then we'd never see it again because it just kept
It
flying.
floated.
To this day, unlike the original prototype where if we threw it, it would come right back.
In the PlayStation blog here, they write, all of this is best
Very
experience.
good joke, Tim.
Thank you. I made that joke in 2015, but hey, here we are in
There you go.
2015.
It all
It's still
loops back.
relevant.
All of this is best experience on a DualSense controller in its full haptic feedback and adaptive trigger glory. Experience each encounter with nudges and rumbling cues coming directly to your fingertips, adding an extra layer of communication as an advantage to the player. Support for keyboard and mouse is also available, along with a wide range of customization options to tailor controls to whatever suits you. So yeah, hell yeah, I love that they're talking about the DualSense stuff, and I love the idea that I love the idea that this could possibly be like an early seller for the DualSense Edge, depending on who you are and what games you gravitate to. Because like my question for you was going to be, what's the first game you try out with the DualSense Edge?
I mean, the first game I try out with any controller, the controller test, the Tim Getty's patent controller test is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I've talked about this before, and I've actually shown it in videos. But like, yeah, I have a whole test on how I know if I love the controller or if I need to throw it at somebody.
Oh yeah, over the break I texted Greg because we had talked about the DualSense Edge a little bit on PS Love You last year, and both me, Janet, and Greg were all like, yeah, like I don't know if the DualSense Edge is going to be for me for the kind of games that we play, right? And I'm probably the person that is maybe the closest to being into the DualSense Edge, but even then I'm like, I'm not that big of a Call of Duty person, right? Like I associate it with like very competitive games, and for a fighting game, for example, I'm probably going to use either a regular controller or a fight stick, right? If I really want to up my game, I think I would go the fight stick direction. During the break while playing FIFA, there was a moment while playing FIFA where I was like, I could use some extra buttons right now. I don't like that I have to press triangle to call up my keeper. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that I have to press R1 to like call up my second player. If I had some paddles, if I had some back paddles, maybe I can get better.
Some paddles, bless.
Yeah. So yeah, like I want to get my hands on some paddles.
Yeah.
I think I'm now in the market for a DualSense Edge.
I'm super excited about it, man. If anybody out there knows anything about me, Tim Geddes, they know that I love two things: tech
and LaCroix.
Being comfortable. All right. I'm a big fan of being comfortable. I think that it might be my favorite thing above all else. And I love that the DualSense Edge looks like it's going to give me a little bit of both of my favorite things.
Hell yeah.
All in one.
Hell yeah. I'm very excited about Returnal coming to PC. I'm not one to revisit games that often, but I could see myself doing it for Returnal just for how good it looks. You know, Barrett had the trailer pulled up before, and I think it looks noticeably better, right? Especially when you're talking about the reflections and all the stuff that goes on with Returnal, because Returnal is a very just visual game. There's so much going on in terms of different colors, in terms of all of the different like neon stuff going on, all the different bullet hell stuff, and all like the bullet hell stuff all having like different colors to it. I think having that stuff being very reflective, right, and adding in all the ray tracing features and doing that stuff while also performing well, that entices me. And then the idea of doing that on even a widescreen, like I have a baby widescreen at home, right? I don't have your 32:9 ultra super high def widescreen like you have, but you know, the idea of playing Returnal on my widescreen at home, I think for me sounds really fun, and it's a reason to go back, right? And Returnal is also just a great game to go back to, just for the fact that it's a roguelite, and so the game is designed to be replayable anyway.
Yeah.
You know, going back to it isn't like picking up a Witcher or picking up a big RPG.
It should be just as fun as it was the first time.
Exactly, right? And that arcade experience is my jam, right? That's why it was my game of the year in 2021. And so, hell yeah, I can't wait for more people to get their hands on Returnal on PC. Can't wait to possibly revisit it. And yeah, I hope.
I wish Andy was here because like I want to hear his takes on this because this seems like it's speaking to him.
Oh yeah,
loud.
The DLSS, the FSR, the NIS, which I thought was a JRPG developer.
I think they are.
Okay, are they?
But not. It's Hey.
Of course. Hey man, there's room for many NISs in the world. Story number 2. Let's continue talking about PlayStation. Sackboy is the next PlayStation series coming to mobile. This is Chris Scullion at Video Games
They really
Chronicle.
called him that.
Called him Sackboy?
Yeah. Like they straight up were like that made it through every single.
It was a different time. It was the PS3 era. We didn't know.
We didn't know.
We didn't know.
What didn't we know, Bless?
They didn't have sacks back then.
Theoretical. Who didn't have sacks?
I don't know, man. Were we calling it that back in 2008? A new free-to-play. This is Chris Scullion at VGC. A new free-to-play running game based on Little Big Planet is coming to mobile next month. Ultimate Sackboy will be released globally on Android and iOS on February 21st. The game will be developed and published by UK/Malta studio Exient under license from Sony. Shout out Johnny Ace. It's also available now for pre-registration on the Google Play Store. Ultimate Sackboy is a 3D runner played with a similar viewpoint to other runners like Temple Run and Sonic Dash. In it, Sackboy has to take on the Ultimate Games, which is the most prestigious obstacle course tournament in Craft World. Did you know it was called Craft World, Tim?
No.
According to the game's description, players will, quote, battle familiar enemies, swing through crazy obstacles, hop, skip, jump, and weave their way to the top of the ultimate games, end quote. Players will be able to take on rivals in head-to-head competitions, including in daily duels, to win gold and other prizes. There will also be thousands of clothing combinations to unlock and upgrade, with a growing catalog of clothing options being added all the time. And I believe them when they say all the time. The game is not to be confused with Run Sackboy Run, a side-scrolling endless runner, which is still available on Android and iOS. Look at Sackboy having multiple mobile games.
Out here running, man.
Just out here
running. And I love that you say you believe them because, yes, they will. they definitely will.
If I've learned anything about Sackboy, is that them motherfuckers love adding costumes.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Good for them. Hey, this is the beginning of the
mobile push.
The mobile push that we've seen PlayStation talk about for a while now, right? And like, Bless, I like to say that you are the utmost authority when it comes to PlayStation's push into the multiplayer side of things with all of their different studios and what they've been building up. And like, you have some theories. You have all your ideas of how it all connects with the string and stuff. But I'm interested in the mobile side. I'm interested in what they're going to start doing with all this. I mean, we've seen them now, and we've talked to death about the push into the multimedia experience on the movie and TV side. But mobile's another big part of that, the kind of PlayStation brand takeover that we're seeing Nintendo have as well, like in a very big way. Like, think about this year for Nintendo, right? Like with what they're about to do with not only having Zelda, the sequel to the biggest Switch game ever, essentially. Then we have Super Nintendo World America opening up. We have the Mario movie coming out. Like the Nintendo brand is about to explode in the biggest way it ever has, which is pretty wild to think about. Meanwhile, PlayStation doing the same thing and them kind of going into the mobile side. Like this is a perfect way to take a character and give him a mobile game that fits him, that could be actually fun, right? If you take Nathan Drake and put him in an Endless Runner, it's like, all right, this feels a little bit cash grabby.
I mean, listen, Temple Run was a classic.
It was.
And
It
put
was.
Nathan
You
Drake
can
in
do
there,
it.
that fits.
You can do it. But what I'm saying is like what we'd want out of an Uncharted mobile game is probably something a little different, you know?
I don't know,
Whereas
man.
what do we want from a Sackboy game? Probably something like this.
I feel that.
You know?
I feel that.
I can say from experience, the Rayman games that are like this on mobile are utterly fantastic.
They're great.
So this could work.
I find this interesting for the fact that you mentioned Nintendo, right? Nintendo, I think, is a good comparison when it comes to the strategy of expanding their IPs and like having movies, having different types of games, multiplayer, all that stuff. The thing with Nintendo though is when it came to their mobile pursuit, which I think they're not doing anymore. It seems like they've pretty much stopped it.
I mean, it gets complicated, right? Because they do still have a lot of fingers in the pots there because of Pokemon Company and things like that. But I mean, like Mario Kart Tour, I'm pretty sure is still being updated. And then there's Pokemon Go, Pokemon Cafe, Pokemon this, Pokemon that, Pokemon Go to the bank, Pokemon go to the store,
sleep. Pokemon Sleep is still not out.
It's not, but the Pokemon Teeth Brush thing is out.
Hell yeah, have you tried it?
I have not.
No.
And
you call yourself a fan?
Yeah.
But when you look at Nintendo's mobile pursuit, it seems like there were maybe a few hits, but a lot of misses. And it seems like Nintendo doesn't have as much passion about it anymore. Because there was that era of, hey man, here's Mario Run, here's that Animal Crossing mobile game, here's was it like something Rise? There was that one mobile game that did actually pretty well.
I forget it was like the Legend of something.
The KindaFunny.com / you're wrong. But there's the Fire Emblem mobile game that did really well.
From Heroes did super well. Pikmin Bloom was the other one.
They're still Mario
stuff. Yeah, I think that they're not. There's Pokemon
Dragalia
Masters.
Lost.
Dragalia Lost.
That's
yeah.
it.
Pokemon Masters EX is something that's still being updated, making a lot of money. So it's like they are doing it. I just don't think it's as like widespread of like every IP we have needs to be on mobile and like do it now. It's I think more just kind of like what works, what doesn't that they're experimenting.
It makes me wonder what success PlayStation is going to find with it, because it's also the question of how deep are they going to dip their toes into this? Is it going to be just one-offs like Ultimate Sackboy and taking IPs that don't have, I guess, as much risk and as much cachet in terms of people taking it the wrong way? Like nobody's going to get mad at a Sackboy mobile game, right? Like you're talking about. Whereas if they did do an Uncharted mobile game or a God of War mobile game or a Horizon mobile game, there's more expectation that comes with that, and I think you don't want to fuck around with those IPs too much in ways where it's like, oh yeah, it's very easy to put out a mobile game that's disappointing.
And I feel like there's the quickness for people to be disillusioned when something is bad immediately and it poisons the well, not just for the IP, but even just for the idea of a PlayStation mobile game. Like if this comes out and it's like as good as the Rayman games, it's like, okay, cool. PlayStation are making choices to make good games that work on this platform using characters that make sense. And then the next time they announce a PlayStation mobile game, even if it was a God of War one, I'd be a little bit more like, okay, there's a chance this is good, as opposed to if it was the other way. And it's like, this is cash grabby, and you just expect everything they do to be cash grabby after that.
What do you think about them using Sackboy? Just in terms of, out of all the IP, Sackboy seems to be the one that they return to when it comes to dipping into that. Maybe this the experimentation of it. It's risk-free. You know, like Run Sackboy Run already exists. Are people going to judge Ultimate Sackboy? Do you think that's what it is when it comes to Sackboy? Or do you think there might be a popularity with Sackboy that we're not seeing? Because like, why this could have been Astrobot. You know,
yeah, it could.
This could have been Ratchet.
It could. I mean, yeah, I think that you're onto something where there is just it just works ability of it, where it's like because it is about crafting, they can kind of get away with anything that they want. Like it's easy to come up with excuses for why things are happening to back up gameplay and all that stuff. Also, he is identifiable. There is some recognizability to Sackboy to some extent. There must be, because he's still here.
He's not gone.
I see.
He's not gone the way of Neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have been.
It could have been Knack. Some say it should have been Knack. But yeah, I just can't believe how many times you've said Sackboy.
I know, right? But it's also just a satisfying word to say, man.
It is, man. It is. But yeah, I think that Sackboy is very much PlayStation's low risk. Like, we can experiment with this. We can kind of like make things that make sense because a lot of genres and gameplay styles can make sense. Taking Sackboy and putting it in without people being like, this isn't what I expected or want from a Sackboy experience.
What's your dream mobile game from PlayStation?
I mean, you guys were talking about it on, I think, a PS I Love You a couple weeks ago, but a Marvel Snap type experience. Like that type of quick card game that is featuring PlayStation IP and showing actual love to the franchises in a real way that's backed up by an awesome game. That would be my dream for the mobile side of things.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I would love that. Whether it is, PlayStation IP, like any PlayStation IP, bring them all in, like PlayStation AllStars, or if it is a pick one of your games that has a really vibrant cast. Because I could see them doing it with even just God of War, where it is, hey, you have your Kratos card that does this, you have your Atreus card that does this, you have your Freya card that does this, right? And you can go through that roster of characters. And like God of War Ragnarok has enough dope ass characters where I think you could make a whole card game out of just the characters in the game, and all of those characters would stand out as a, oh yeah, I remember this guy. Oh yeah, Ratatoskr, yeah, I remember that. Like I think you could do that and it could be dope as hell.
Yeah, I mean, dude, imagine it's just a PlayStation card game, and then they put out like dumps that are like, here's the Ragnarok deck.
Yeah,
here's the like Ghost of Tsushima deck.
The season of Tsushima.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course, Sackboy will be there probably first.
The season of Sackboy.
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ! I did the way that that scared the shit out of me because I did not. I legit thought that was real for a second. Because when I looked at that at quick glance, I was like, "Is that a gigantic spider? What the fuck is going on?" Near Tim, if you're an audio listener, you gotta come to the video, check out what just happened. Sackboy came through with some things to say.
He looked living. He's alive, everybody.
All I'm saying is that if it was Astrobot, it wouldn't be as scary.
Get that sack out of my face.
Astrobot is cute, man. Bring back Astrobot. Story number 3. Destruction All-Star Studio, Lucid Games, is working with Rare on Sea of Thieves. This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. Destruction All-Star Studio, Lucid Games, has announced that it's working with Rare as a support studio on Sea of Thieves. The independent, Liverpool-based developer confirmed it had teamed up with Xbox's Rare in an update on his website and social media channels. Quote, "It's been incredible supporting them on their thrilling pirate adventure, and we can't wait to see where this legendary voyage will take us," it said. Lucid Games was formed in 2011 by senior management and ex-staff from Bizarre Creations after parent company Activision closed the Project Gotham Racing, Geometry Wars, and Blur Studio. Among other titles, Lucid developed 2014's Geometry Wars 3, Dimensions, and 2021's poorly received vehicular combat title, Destruction All-Stars. The studio was initially given development duties on Sony's Twisted Metal video game reboot, but the unannounced project was later moved to PlayStation's Firesprite Studio. Tim, interesting journey.
It is an interesting journey. Yeah, it's not one that I would have expected, honestly. But this just is a reminder that not all studios making PlayStation exclusives are PlayStation studios.
Of course.
Especially when you start getting into a lot of the smaller ones and some of the support teams, and they're making the jump, right? Rare being a Microsoft, Xbox Game Studios company, it's like, all right, cool. They're going to be working on a game that's proven to actually be a success for the people, which that could work.
Yeah, and you imagine that's going to help free up Rare to continue working on their next game, right? Whether that be Everwild or if they're working on anything else. One day we'll see Everwild.
One day.
One day we'll see Everwild. But yeah, I think it's fascinating to your point of PlayStation Studios and how they work. I think it's fascinating to see this be the other side of the coin of the opposite of what you saw with Housemarque and Returnal, where Housemarque develops Returnal as a first-party PlayStation Studios game without being owned by PlayStation. It comes out, it's a big success, and then PlayStation picks them up, and they're like, "Cool, now we own you. We're gonna acquire you." And now it's a thing, right? And we're seeing the success of Housemarque versus Destruction All Stars, which was a similar situation of we're putting out this PlayStation Studios first-party title for the new platform, the PS5. Our game is coming up. The hype for it is fucking dead. Nobody gives a fuck about this thing. I guess let's put it on PlayStation Plus, see if it sticks. Doesn't stick, right? You then see it go on sale. You then I couldn't tell you right now if Destruction All Stars is still online, right? Like it had that kind of story as a video game, and now you're seeing them, not get picked up by Sony, right? Go on to support Rare, which that's a great gig, right? That's good. That's awesome. But it's very interesting to see that contrasted with what the Returnal, with what Returnal did for Housemarque, and it makes me wonder what those conversations were like, right? What the level of expectation was for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that, like, as PlayStation looking at Destruction All-Stars, that game doesn't strike me as this is going to be a hit on our platform. Maybe it did to somebody. Maybe they presented it really well. Maybe there was something there, but it's hard to imagine, right? And that game was supposed to come out for $70 at launch. Wait, what happened is what I want to know. Like, how did that happen?
And what makes it extra bizarre to me is the fact that they didn't make a Twisted Metal. They instead made Destruction All-Stars. And then we're hearing, supposedly, that they were working on a Twisted Metal.
Yep.
So it's like, what choices were made to lead to what actually happened, right? Because it does seem a little bit bizarre that Destruction All-Stars came out how it did, when it did, right?
Yeah.
Like being so close, like being a part of the PS5's launch. Like a big part of like the hype and the marketing, and like it was pretty much like, hey, at launch.
I mean, it was I would say one of the very few games that just did not hit whatsoever out of that PlayStation Studios launch
Showcase.
lineup. Yeah, that showcase, because you're talking about games like Bugsnax, which wasn't like PlayStation Studios technically, but it was in that lineup. When I think of PlayStation launch, right, you're talking about Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Sackboy always comes back. Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which was pretty good. I love Sackboy: A Big Adventure. You're talking about Bugsnax. You're talking about Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Talking about Bugsnax. You're talking about The Pathless, which was fantastic. Like Destruction All-Stars is one of the very few duds out of that.
Yeah.
And I want to know what the actual expectation was for it, because at no point during the marketing did it seem like people were super hyped about that. And I wonder if the story would have changed if it was Twisted Metal from the start. Right, hey, let's just give them the IP and then work with it. But maybe the game just would have came out and not been good.
I mean, dude,
there's bad Twisted Metal.
Swaths of people out there that absolutely love Twisted Metal, and they just can't wait for it to come to Peacock later this year with Anthony Mackie. I'm one of them, honestly.
Go. I can't wait.
I know you are too.
We got to do the
weekly episode breakdowns.
I was gonna say the same way we're doing Last of Us breakdowns. We got to do that for Twisted Metal.
It's what the people want. We got to give it to
Put
them.
Anthony Mackie on the video wall.
He'll be there.
Let's fucking go.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, before we get to our next news story, I had to wait for a second because I was like, I just said the F word and I'm about to transition to the ad. But guess what? The ad is kindafunny.com/Patreon, so it doesn't matter.
Remember, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
We can do whatever the fuck we want. Go watch this fucking ad. This week on Patreon, the next gen crew of Kinda Funny, myself, Barrett, Joey, and Roger, did a fantasy film draft, picking which movies we think are going to be the best reviewed, and we had some wild choices.
This third one is about to pop off with one Jonathan Majors because he's looking a
God
big,
damn
thick
it.
boy.
You guys are killing
Creed
me.
3, baby.
You guys are killing me, man.
Not even on my list.
Roger,
How
what
is
is
that
your
not on your list? Dune 2. Right? Like, that's going to be a banger. We have Austin Butler.
Wasn't he like a child star in something?
Zoe 101.
Zoe 101.
Oh, my guy.
He's like the bad boy.
Yeah. My dude. Oh, my guy. Oh, man. I love that dude.
Can we draft a movie DLC? Trailer.
I would like to draft an unannounced Marvel post-credit scene.
Head over to patreon.com/kindafunny to listen to this and hundreds of other exclusive episodes right now. Tim, of course, the Next Gen podcast, we did our fantasy movie draft, and it was a very fun time. By one, I don't know if I'd say regret, because the cast we have on the show is supposed to be the Next Gen of Kinda Funny, right? Like, that's the whole idea of it. But I would have loved to have you to have had you on there, because I would have loved to see what Tim's movie drafts were or would have been.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any in the top of your head that you would have thrown out there as a draft?
Well, the thing is, like, I get confused with drafts. I'm very bad when it comes to the fantasy stuff, because like, are we talking the quality? Are we talking the box office? Like, what?
For this one, we're talking Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
Critical
see, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like this year is going to be, in the same way with video games, there are going to be more movies than ever that are like expected to be talked about, right? Like pop movies, like pop games. I think there's more on both sides than ever. So I do feel like there's going to be some pretty big duds and disappointments coming out.
Well, like what? Throw it out there.
So here, I was talking to Joey about this yesterday, but there's this one Twitter person that I follow that is like pretty on the inside of the Hollywood thing, and they will hint at things, leaks things, whatever, and like their track record is, I'd say, close to flawless. And when they get something wrong, they admit it as soon as they know and are like, hey, this is why I got this wrong, whatever. And they came out and are being super vague and teasy about this, but they're like, there's one major blockbuster movie coming out this year that is so bad and people are not expecting it to be, and it is going to be like potentially the biggest dud of blockbuster history.
Damn, Barbie's
and I'm like,
not,
fuck.
Barbie's not going to stack up, huh?
People are talking about this, and like the consensus seems to be they're either talking about Fast 10, which would not be a surprise, or Barbie.
Okay, I was joking about Barbie. It better
And I
not be
hope
Barbie.
it's not Barbie, dude. Barbie needs to
Wait,
be.
who drafted Barbie? Oh, Joey did.
Joey did.
Oh,
Joey
no.
got there before me.
Joey
because I
has
would have drafted
the
Barbie.
chance, though, to be a major success. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, none of us drafted Fast. I mean, no offense to Fast 10, but like that's not one that we're expecting.
That's
to
not a
do
Rotten
well.
Tomatoes. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not like a critical darling. That's just a pop culture phenomenon.
It should
I
be.
would say.
Motherfuckers could just get along.
Get along. Story number 4. Microsoft is going to lay off 10,000 employees. This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. Microsoft has confirmed plans to lay off approximately 10,000 employees. The staff cuts will hit around 4.5% of the U.S. technology giant's 220,000 person workforce. Microsoft said the layoffs will take place by the end of its third fiscal quarter on March 31st, 2023. Alongside the job cuts, Microsoft said it will also make changes to its hardware portfolio and lease consolidation to create higher density across its workspaces. The company said that these actions were being taken, quote, in response to macroeconomic conditions and changing customer priorities, end quote. Microsoft didn't immediately identify which areas of the business will be impacted by today's announcements, although it was reported on Tuesday that the company intended to cut jobs in a number of engineering divisions. Microsoft said U.S. employees impacted by the job cuts who are eligible for benefits will receive above-market severance pay, continuing healthcare coverage, investing of stock awards for 6 months, career transition services, and 60-day notice prior to termination. Benefits for staff outside the U.S. will align with the employment laws in each country. This is a bummer.
Major bummer, continuing down this trend of a lot of tech companies laying off so many people. 10,000. 10,000 human beings lost a job.
4.5% of its workforce.
I mean, it's absolutely wild, and like this is hopefully going to stop sometime soon, but it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. We've seen this from pretty much all of the major players at this point. And it's very sad. Obviously, hope that everybody affected has gets the help that they need and is able to recover.
And it's good to read the last part, right, where it seems like they're at least going through the process in a better way than we often see these stories, where it's like, oh man, I got laid off, and also I didn't get severance, and also like, oh man, I got laid off, and I didn't know what was happening until this morning, and now I don't have a job, right?
Yeah.
Like we see a lot of that. We see that go down a lot, especially in the games industry, and for this, we don't really know how Xbox is affected or if the Xbox side of things is affected, but 4.5%.
I mean, they must
percent of the workforce. You would
Yeah.
imagine that, like, it's going to affect it in some way. But yeah, like, good luck to everybody. And yeah, right now tech is scary when it comes to employment and people getting laid off. So stay safe out there.
And then with that, finding new jobs is even more difficult than it's been, I think, ever in the tech space.
Scary stuff.
But they needed to use that $68 million to buy Activision.
Activision. Yeah, we needed to buy Call of Duty. We needed to buy Call of Duty. Story number 5, our final news story for the day. We're getting a Rainbow Six movie. This is Boris Kitt at The Hollywood Reporter. John Wick director Chad Stahelski will direct Michael B. Jordan in the Tom Clancy
Is he doing 10 movies?
Let's fucking go, all right? My guy, Michael B. Jordan, he doesn't stop. Wait, you talking about Chad?
No, I'm talking about Chad.
Because he's doing Sifu also.
Yeah, he's doing so many things.
Listen, keep giving Chad projects, keep giving Michael B. Jordan projects, all right? Let's see. John Wick Chad Stahelski will direct Michael B. Jordan in the Tom Clancy sequel, Rainbow Six, as a follow-up to 2021's Without Remorse. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Jordan will reprise the role of Navy SEAL and CIA operative John Clark, who has appeared in numerous Tom Clancy novels, first in the Jack Ryan series, then in his own spin-offs like Without Remorse and Rainbow Six. The movie will adapt from the same novels that Ubisoft has based its video game series on. In an interview with IGN, Jordan described Without Remorse as a more personal story, but a sequel could be more action-packed and skew closer to the same material covered in the video games. There's a lot I think we can touch on here.
Yeah.
The fact that Chad is all up in all these different projects, right? First John Wick. But then, he's doing Sifu. He's doing this as well. The fact that Without Remorse came out a couple years ago, and I did not know this movie came out.
No, me neither.
I'm a big Michael B. Jordan fan. I somehow missed this. Kind of funny. Chat, let me know if that movie was good, because I'll watch it tonight. All right, I'll watch it tonight because I love me some Michael B. Jordan. But that's another thing, right? And Rainbow Six seemingly being a pseudo sequel to that, I think is interesting. there's also the fact that, man, there's a lot of adaptations happening, and this right here is a blessing show because how is everything being adapted? I feel like I can name more game, and I know this is being adapted from the novel, but still, you associate Rainbow Six with the game. More pop media game adaptations that are happening than ones that aren't. You know what I mean? Like,
That's funny. The thing is, like, it used to be like this back in the 90s, like in early 2000s. I remember every month reading EGM or Nintendo Power, and they'd be talking about a Crazy Taxi movie is in the works. A Metroid movie is in the works. This is in the works. That's in the works. A Tetris movie, blah, blah, blah. And it's like so few of them ended up seeing the light of day. And then so many of them started seeing the light of day. Like pretty much everything had a movie. Like if you were a survival horror game on the PlayStation, you had a fucking movie. And it was like, I don't know that we needed an Alone in the Dark movie, but they're like, but you're getting it. You're going to fucking get it, okay? You're going to get a Silent Hill movie. You're going to get a sequel to that.
You're going to get a bunch of Resident Evils.
Like, so many Resident Evils, all right? So it's like that shit just kept kind of popping off. But then obviously, like, we don't even need to get into it. We know the quality of them. They weren't great. They weren't even good most of the time. But now here we are. They're, I'd say, good most of the time. There are a couple stinkers. There's a couple highlights. And I feel like there's money to be made. And the box office is proving that there's value here. The streaming war side of it's showing that there's value here. And I just hope that more of these start coming out and are actually good, because that's only a good thing for me as a video game fan and as a entertainment fan.
So, chat, very split on Without Remorse. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not looking good. It has a 45% on the tomato meter. An audience score of 38%. Not looking great for Without Remorse. That said, Rainbow Six could be really cool, right? Like you're talking about what? Like spy espionage shit, Michael B. Jordan in a group of fucking like agents. Maybe it'll be like Siege, where you have like Lion in there and like all of the Castle in there, and you have the different operatives that have like their different special abilities, and they're all doing their own thing. And maybe they're breaking down walls. You know, maybe that's what they're doing in the movie. And if so, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll watch it. But I don't know, man. This is interesting. This is fascinating. I'm surprised we haven't seen more Tom Clancy stuff in film, or maybe we have and it just doesn't.
Haven't we? I think that's the thing. I am so ignorant when it comes to this man, Tom Clancy. You know, like to me, it's like Tom Clancy might as well be, you know, this Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue. We have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's like, you know, Sackboy Adventure, like whatever it is. He's just out here doing these things. But I'm pretty sure he write these. There's the books. I'm pretty sure there's movies, right? There's TV shows.
Maybe the movie.
Jack Ryan's a TV show on Amazon.
Or the movies. Yes. Okay. Jack
John
Ryan,
Krasinski.
Red October. I take it back. Yeah.
Zach Reacher, not Zach.
Zach Reacher.
Jack Reacher, I think, has to do with Tom Clancy, and that was Tom Cruise. A lot of Toms. Am I wrong?
It's fun reading chat and seeing people throw out just words, and I'm like, I don't know what these.
Reacher is not
Tom Clancy.
Okay.
We were saying Zach Reacher is the Nickelodeon version, so Kebab says Zach Fair. But yeah, good luck with this Rainbow Six movie. I feel like out of all the Tom Clancy stuff to come out on the movie side of things, Rainbow Six is probably one of the ones that has potential because it's a known IP, it's a known quantity. So hopefully they do well with it, right? Hopefully Michael B. Jordan brings that Michael B. Jordan goodness like he does in the Creed movies. Did I ever tell you that I finally watched Creed 2?
You did.
Yeah, and I fucking love Creed 2.
And Tim, I made myself the promise because I was the one who was able to draft a couple of movies like Creed 3 and John Wick Chapter 4. Have not watched either of those franchises. And I've made my promise that I will actually watch those movies before either of those movies come out.
Oh my God, you're gonna have a very good March.
Yeah.
Your March is about to blow your goddamn mind. Barrett's gonna come in with a whole new personality.
Barrett's coming to be Jack.
He's gonna be fucking Jack.
Barrett just doing push-ups.
It's gonna be like when y'all saw Top Gun, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Barrett comes in with like the biggest biceps we've ever seen. But then he also has like a baseball cap covering his eyes and then like a fucking scar going down his face. We're gonna like check his desk. We're gonna find a fucking weapon. We're like, Barrett, what happened? He's like, somebody got to Lulu. Oh man,
dude, the thing for me about
this joke about that.
I know that was a bad joke, but it's a John Wick reference.
But the thing about the Rainbow Six movie that I think makes this a little bit weird is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm less interested in these adaptations of games that I feel don't have their own identity and characters and stories that like are going to be adapted when it is just kind of, it's just a generic action spy world thing.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong there because they're like, there's characters. I don't know who the fuck John Clark is, but maybe people are like, oh man, I love my homie John Clark.
I mean, I'm with you on the Tom Clancy. I'm so ignorant when it comes to Tom Clancy. I assume that the Rainbow Six games are adapted from Rainbow Six novels, and if you have Rainbow Six novels, I assume that those have a cast of characters and a story that you're following and stuff, right? Whereas the games, on the game side, right, it is how do we turn this into a game? We'll just take the broad concept of infiltrations and operatives and all this stuff, right, and make that the game. But I assume the actual novel they're adapting is going to have all the stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing is like at some point if it's just adapting a novel that has the same name as a game that has very little to do with the novel.
Let me talk about The Witcher.
But that's different though, because that has a lot to do with it. Like
That's fair.
I don't know. Like I just don't. Rainbow Six being a movie to me almost doesn't even feel like a video game adaptation.
I feel you.
Where it's just like, all right, cool. It could be a dope action movie, but I don't know that any like Rainbow Six fans of the games are like, yo, man, I can't wait till we see this person do this thing.
I'm somebody who's played a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm probably not going to watch this movie, like especially if it comes out and people are like, I'm not going to watch it. But if it's cool, like here's the thing: my selling factor for this movie isn't even Rainbow Six. This is Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
I want to see that man. I want to see his muscles. You know,
it's true.
I want to see the man smile.
If my grandpa was still
cute
around,
smile.
he would be stoked for this movie. He had like a bunch of Tom Clancy novels, and I feel like he was the only person I ever met who actually like had Tom Clancy novels.
That's so funny. But I get it. I mean, being a fan of the novels, that totally makes sense. I'm just saying, like,
Exactly.
this as a game adaptation, I don't know that this is going to count.
Well, Tim, I'm very excited to see how this Rainbow Six movie pans out, and I'm also excited for Barrett to watch all those movies in March. But March is just so far away. If I want to know what's coming out to mom and pop shops today, where should I look?
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform is listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah. Out today, we got Definitely Not Fried Chicken for PC, and then Wings of Blue Star for Switch. Bear, I'm gonna need you to look up Definitely Not Fried Chicken. I'm very curious about that one. New dates for you. Tower of Fantasy's 2.3 update, Wandering Amidst Miasma, launches on February 2nd. Corpse Keeper, the medieval gothic action strategy roguelike from developer Melancholia studio and publisher Thermite Games, begins a supernatural battle on PC via Steam and Epic Games Store in an early access launch February 15th, 2023. Thermite, another Rainbow Six Siege character. SteamWorld Telegraph special broadcast has been announced for next Monday, January 23rd at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Right now, Barrett has pulled up Definitely Not Fried Chicken, and I definitely would not have thought that this is what this game was.
Yeah, it's like a drug front restaurant business thing that you're in. It's like a management, building management and stuff like that.
I like it.
It's a Gus Fring simulator.
Oh, it is Gus Fring, isn't it? That makes sense. Oh, that's pretty cool. More new dates for you. Tactical beat 'em up RPG Treachery and Beatdown City arrives on Xbox consoles alongside a new update this April 27th. And then, given time, a brand new campaign for Jet to Far Shore is available for free on January 31st. Deals of the day for you. There's a level 5 sale going on the US PlayStation Store. Dark Cloud, Dark Cloud 2, and Rogue Galaxy are all $7.49.
Those are some blessing games.
Go jump on Dark Cloud. Dark Cloud's a really fun game. Tim, now it's time for Reader Mail. Remember, you can write into kindafunny.com/KFGD with your questions, your squad ups. You can skip ads, do a bunch of cool stuff. Just like James Davis, a.k.a. at James Davis Makes did.
A homie.
James Davis writes in and says, "This is not hypothetical. I genuinely want to understand. Why is it a bad thing for Suicide Squad to be a games as a service? With quality AAA games as a service games like Destiny, The Division 2, Warzone, etc., I don't fully understand why people are freaking out. Is it the perception of not getting a complete game? Please educate me."
I think it really falls down to the expectations for IP of people getting a game from Rocksteady, knowing the type of games they like from Rocksteady and knowing what they would like from a Batman universe, DC universe video game. I think that is where this stems, where the problem stems, right? Because it starts with most people would expect Arkham type game, maybe an advancement in that type of realm, but at the end of the day, a single player experience, right? So doing this, I think there's extra concern around because of Avengers being a similar type of situation to what I just explained, a known quantity of developer of Crystal Dynamics, an expectation of what people want from that being a single player narrative driven thing with characters that they love. And then it being turned into this team-based, like, games as a service and with battle passes and all that stuff, we saw what that turned into. So I feel like that's where the hesitation starts.
Yeah. And I think you're also talking about a game genre that just requires a lot. What's going on here?
That's all. You guys are doing a great job. I'm gonna need you guys to wrap this up because Nick the Elder needs to become the Elden Lord
Oh, you'd be playing that Elden Ring?
on our Twitch stream later today, ladies and gentlemen. Right after the show, stick around. Daddy's about to frag out in the Elden realm.
I don't know if you can frag out.
Where could they see that, Nick?
You can watch that on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames all week. I'm getting in there right now. Andy gave me some gloves. Still naked, but I get to wear gloves now.
Yeah.
This is the most. You're watching ABC and like you're watching a sitcom, and then all of a sudden in the lower third, you see characters from a different show come on.
Yeah.
But it's
and do
Nick
goofy
just
shit.
hiding behind the video wall.
And
Yeah.
it's so funny because I'm watching Tim answer the question, and like I assume Tim knew that Nick walked through.
No.
Oh,
No, I did not. Not at all. No.
Because I was like, oh, is Tim as distracted as me right now?
Yeah,
seeing Nick.
No,
just, like, hang out
I
in
didn't.
this
I did
area.
not know he was there until I heard a little scuffle back there. I don't know how you got all the way there without me seeing you, but he's doing a. Yep,
Oh, he's doing a. We can see him, but we can't hear him.
he's silent.
I can't hear Nick right now.
He's like a Prius.
He's like a Prius. God damn. God damn. Go
Jesus,
check out
man.
the Elden
First
Ring.
Sackboy, then Nick.
Then Nick. What else can go wrong in this episode? But yeah, like going
You
back
just
to the,
said you can call me Sackboy. I hate that.
Jesus Christ. Going back to James Davis's question, right? I think James Davis's question mentions Destiny, the Division 2, Warzone, and for me the difference with those games is that you look at the studios that are making those games and the amount of resources that are going into those games, and I think they just strike you as different from something like Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah.
Where Rocksteady is known for single player. Rocksteady is coming from WB Games, right? How many big games as a service games from WB Games have you seen come through and be successful, right? I would say the closest one in recent memory would be Multiverses, which I think has come and gone. Fun game, but it's a game that I've not seen make news headlines, right? And have that staying power. Destiny is coming from Bungie, right? A studio that people trust with that specific kind of game, right? And they pioneered that. You know, that is the thing that they I think sold us on in that first initial reveal for Destiny. Went, hey, we have a 10-year plan for that, right? And even that was rough. Destiny 1 did not start off like without issues and without problems. It took them a little bit to get there, and now Destiny 2 is what Destiny 2 is. But even that was a journey. You look at Warzone 2 when you're talking about Activision with Call of Duty, one of the biggest franchises on the planet. If anybody's going to do it, they're going to do it. You look at Division 2, right? And again, you're talking about Ubisoft. You're talking about a studio that is built around this kind of game, right? That is meant for this kind of thing. When I look at Rocksteady and Suicide Squad, I think it is the question of who asked for this to be a games as a service kind of game. Do we trust Rocksteady to be able to deliver on this kind of game when their expertise and their specialty has been in these fun single player action games? And then also, I think you do get that fear when you look at things like Gotham Knights, right, which came out and I think does strike us as a bit similar in terms of how it's presenting, and then also Marvel's Avengers, which strikes us as similar, and both those things were not successes.
Yeah, and just to add to what you're saying here, it's like the games mentioned, Destiny, Division 2, and Warzone, all three of these are sequels to some extent. They are the second iteration of the thing, where we had Destiny 2, obviously, and even Destiny 2 at this point has had multiple iterations of what it is and how it works to get to the point of it being good and working for people. Division 2, a lot of lessons learned from the first one, and it was better than the first one in terms of the games as service aspects. And then Warzone even was at this point, there's been multiple seasons and iterations on Warzone, but it was take two on Battle Royales for Call of Duty. There was Blackout, right?
Yeah,
it happened before that.
And I wouldn't even count Warzone 2 in that conversation because the Suicide Squad isn't a battle royale. You know, like it's not like a living service open world thing where you're going out and like doing missions with each other. It's a battle royale. So like I wouldn't even have that in the same conversation because that's just not the same design philosophy that they're going in.
That's a good point. But even having said that, it's like I feel like that brings up another point that there are even fewer success stories of games as a service than this list implies. Like, are we missing some? Like Destiny, Division 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you define games as a service.
Because
I can see like
Fantasy 16,
yeah, I'll say Final
or
Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, right? But then you're getting
those are
into different
MMOs.
kinds.
It's like that's
Exactly.
the thing. When we understand what GAAS means when we look at those ugly letters. You know,
the ugly letters.
I think I said this yesterday, but I'll repeat it today. Where with Rocksteady, it felt like they were trendsetters back in the day, and this feels so similar to. This feels like they're chasing something very similar to what Ubisoft is always doing. They're chasing a specific design franchise, and that's just not what I want from Rocksteady, and that's disappointing. And then this game's going to come out. If it's good or it's bad, or if it doesn't hit for me or whatever, we're going to have to wait like another 7 years for another Rocksteady title.
Yeah, I think it's also the fact
Fallout
that
76.
Fallout 76, right? And like that's the thing is, I think when you go down the list, the way because the way I've always described games as a service / live ongoing games has always just been continual updates, right? Which applies to so many games, but when we narrow it down into like the Division 2, right? I think you are getting into a narrow scope of, all right, I guess action games that you can play with friends that also have content updates and like roadmaps and all that stuff. But that applies to so many just multiplayer games that I would go and I would include the broad spectrum of it. But I think for me, that comes back to why is Suicide Squad a games as a service kind of game, or why does it have a battle pass? Why does it have these features? I think the thing of people being upset about it is that I think a lot of the audience is very perceptive when it comes to what to expect, or why a studio would do this. Is games as a service good for Suicide Squad, or is games as a service good for the idea of making money continually? And I think people are able to. I think the audience is able to identify things that feel like cash grabs, right? And I don't want to be harsh and just cast this as a cash grab, like off the bat, because it could be great.
It's assumptions and hypothesis based on prior experience.
Exactly.
That's where we're at right now. It's like, looking at this, it seems like it's going to be another Avengers situation. I don't think any of us are rooting for it to be an Avengers situation. We're hoping that they nailed this.
Exactly.
We're hoping that this is like, oh wow, this is what it should be, and then could inspire others to do similar things to it working. Like James is talking about here with Destiny and Division 2. If it's as good as those, that's a great thing. Then we can get new, different styles of games with a model that people are happy with, that they're actually rewarded with. Games as a service, live service games, battle passes, all of that should be good.
Oh yeah,
all of that should be things that we want,
and they sometimes are good, right? Like again, when you're talking about Destiny, Division 2, and all these things, I think I come back to is games as a service the right way to do this game, and we will see, right? So far, I've not been, and I think a lot of people just haven't been sold on the idea of this game being game as a service. But when you get the announcement for Destiny, it's like, okay, cool, you've sold me on this thing. When they tell you about the Division, it's like, all right, cool. I can see your division, Ubisoft. I can see your vision here. I go back to that original trailer of them doing like the fake voices of people on the voice chat, like talking to each other and coordinating with each other. Like, hey, throw the grenade. Oh man, I'm gonna go right. You go like. As corny as that is, I think that original trailer for Division really sold people on what that game was and why it would work as a multiplayer game as a game of games as a service. Same with Call of Duty and all these other games that are doing it. I just haven't seen that with Suicide Squad yet. And I think if they're smart, they would have a trailer or a showcase that is, hey, this is our plan. This is our roadmap. This is going to be our first content drop 2 months after the game is out. That's going to be this big expansion that's focused on Superman or whatever it is. I think they got to go in and really sell us on why it having a battle pass and it being this ongoing game is going to work for it. But they just haven't done that yet. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of when that's the awkward place that we're in. Is
and
that
it seems unlikely. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah,
but
we shall see.
We shall see.
Tim, actually, I got another question here. I'm trying. You know what? I'll throw out this question as a quick question. Sam Bam writes in to kindafunny.com/KFGG just like you can and says, "Sup nerds. Everyone is groaning about the Suicide Squad games as a service news. My question is, what established franchise or licensed property do you want to see take on the games as a service model?" I'm going to say Star Wars. And I know we've kind of gotten that with Battlefront and stuff, and I know we might get that with the upcoming Ubisoft Star Wars game. But I'm still
will, right?
Yeah, I think we will.
That hopefully will be an example of what we're talking about. Of Division setting is a good starting place.
Yep.
So let's go from there.
And the reason why I think that excites a lot of us, just from the idea, is that Star Wars is a universe that you can do a lot with. You can tell a lot of stories there. You can have people fly to different planets, right? If you're able to capture that scope, I think that's going to feel really cool. There's so much lore to work with. You can even imagine the different classes and different abilities and different
the
cosmetic
ability
stuff.
to tell your own story and like make your own character, and that's the other weird thing with like Suicide Squad, where it's like those are known characters that you're kind of like trying to fit a mold into, whereas like things like the Division 2, that's your character exists in
an
that
avatar
world, and that's very easy to do with Star Wars. Like I think one of the theories we had, or maybe it was a rumor or something, is like that Star Wars game is going to be about bounty hunting and stuff, and like that is in a kind of Division 2 like games as a service model sounds actually really fun if they could pull it off.
Yeah.
James McGill in the chat says Jackbox. Just give me a subscription for all the current games and future ones. That is a great.
I'm surprised they haven't done
Great
that
answer.
already.
Yeah.
that's a fantastic answer. Paper in chat says doesn't matter. Just the announcement of a Star Wars games as a service game is going to set people off. They announced it. Like they announced it, and people got excited. Like I think that's the thing is if you take the right properties and the right ideas and match them up with a games as a service, I think it could work.
Yeah.
Right. Like even something. I mean, even if you want to do a DC thing. I guess DC Universe Online exists, right? But if you do a new iteration of that is more games as a service, where it's what Barrett's talking about, give me a blank character, let me choose a class, right, or a faction or whatever it is, whether it's me getting speed, power, super strength, or whatever, like in DC Universe Online, and go about it that way. I do think something like that could be cool.
For me, it's Mario Kart. Mario Kart 9, just like call it Mario Kart, have it just be a platform, just keep adding to it. And it's like, I was convinced that's what was going to happen when they did the whole DLC booster packs for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm a little less sure of that now because I'm like, all right, well, they kind of did a half-step version of it that I'm very happy with. But I would have definitely preferred, hey, here's a new Mario Kart, and we're going to add new characters to the point that at the end of time, every course will be here. Every character imaginable will be here. New courses all the time. Like, that would be the dream for me.
God, I love that so much. Tim, now it's time for kindafunny.com/you're wrong, where you write in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong.
That we got anything wrong.
So we can correct it later for those watching and listening. Destroy the Moon says NIS is developer Nippon Ichi Software, mostly known for Disgaea. I appreciate that. Hey Ray says the Microsoft layoffs are also affecting Xbox and Bethesda. For future reference, if you have a source to go along with that, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, I saw people saying that on Twitter, but the articles that were rolling around never said any of that. So.
Yeah. For now, I'm going to say take that with a grain of salt, but it's a possibility. Mikey O says John Wick's Chad Stahelski isn't on the Sifu movie. That's John Wick co-creator Derek Kolstad.
I was getting confused.
That is confusing. But good for both of them. And then this is interesting. Lanky Dragoon says the Rainbow Six movie was referred to as a game adaptation. It's a book Oh no, Lanky Dragoon is saying things that I think we said. Right? We know that Rainbow Six is being adapted from a book, from the books. And there you go. That's it for kindafunny.com/you're wrong. Tomorrow's hosts for KFGD are going to be me and Tim. That's right. We're back at it like a bad habit. If you're watching this live right now after this. Did Nick call it Elden Nick? Is that what he said? He called it something.
Oh man,
Elden King. He's going to become the Elden King.
From now on, we're calling Nick the Sackboy. So
Nick, you're going to get some more Elden Ring with Mike, Andy, and Nick the Sackboy. If you want to catch that stream later, of course, you can subscribe to youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. Remember, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday live right here on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. Until next time, game daily.